All right, I'm Eric, CEO of Respirix. We're developing a new way to monitor and manage cardiac health non-invasively by mining a waveform that's actually carried through your breath. And while we believe that our technology has true platform potential, today I'm going to focus on an application where we have an opportunity to solve an unmet clinical need for millions of patients and to save the healthcare system billions of dollars. So there's a huge problem in America. Every year, about 1 million people show up to the emergency room with severe shortness of breath, swelling, and fatigue. And this crisis of heart failure-related hospitalizations is actually growing quite fast, estimated to reach about $70 billion a year by 2030. But at Respirix, we view this pandemic actually as an opportunity. In fact, more specifically, an opportunity that's over $10 billion a year in this country alone. You see, a large number of these hospitalizations can be avoided with the use of an FDA-approved technology that can effectively guide medication changes. But the bad news is that this only solution is actually a microchip that gets planted inside of your heart and the pulmonary artery for life that costs about $18,000, excluding a cath lab procedure. And so patient reluctance to undergo surgery and difficulty obtaining reimbursement have greatly hindered its adoption. But at Respirix, we've developed a technology that solves all of those shortcomings. Our handheld device reliably acquires several physiological signals from a patient and transmits them to the cloud, where our algorithms can predict if the heart failure patient is worsening, providing a low-cost and non-invasive alternative to the implant. In a pilot clinical study, we monitored 14 heart failure patients for about a year, and we obtained daily readings from both the implant, that's the gold standard of care, and our device. And we've already obtained a highly statistically significant correlation to that implant. And I actually believe we're on track to beat them at their performance. More recently, at CPMC Hospital in San Francisco, we monitored a patient with bigeminy, and we noticed that the signal amplitude of our technology was directly correlated to the prior diastolic phase length, suggesting that we actually might be able to detect subtle changes in stroke volume non-invasively with exquisite precision. In forthcoming clinical trials, we're going to double down on these efforts, and I believe that we'll acquire a data set that will enable us to build an algorithm for heart failure that's actually ultimately more prognostic than pulmonary artery pressures. Our business model is simple. We want to be the world's first clinical-grade heart failure monitoring as a service. We will bring a solution to millions of patients in need who can't access care today due to the costs and risks associated with an implant. This is going to be a pretty busy year for our company. We have a number of important initiatives that we're working on the clinical, business, and engineering side. And I'm optimistic that if we do partner with M2D2, we'll be able to accelerate reaching these milestones. We have a great team. In fact, we've got over 50 years of combined experience in medtech innovation, startups, clinical research, and engineering. And we have over 60 issued patents and collectively have invented 14 medical technologies that have raised over $300 million in venture funding to date. We're Respirix, and we're going to forever change cardiac management. Thanks.
Eric, thank you. Looks like it could be a real disruptive technology. And the question I have for you is, you talked about sort of early clinical data. What are you going to need to do to prove this, ultimately in your sort of pivotal study?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, I would say in the interim right now, we're working on a much larger end sample size of both, clinical and actually preclinical data that we think will be publishable and will really validate the utility of our signal. That being said, I think to your point, to get paid for the value we want to create, we're probably going to have to do a multi-100 patient longitudinal outcomes-based study, single blind, maybe like the CardioMEMS champion trial. But of course, we can do that for a much lower cost because this is, a non-invasive device, basically 510(k) pathway. But that will be an investment in time to get those results. But, I think it's worthwhile.
Thank you.